So this is not the video I intended to make this week. My intention was to give you a progress update on the various restoration projects we have going around the workshop. I was just going to slip in a little bit of footage on a visit we took to a local carnival. But while I was editing, I went down a rabbit hole. I realized that I've been sitting on footage for the last several years of what might be some of the rarest carnival rides in America, and I decided that they deserved a video of their own. So a bit of a backstory here. A viewer of the channel named Tim contacted me and said that he was associated with a local carnival, and they had an example of our rocket ride, the same ride that we're restoring, and it was actually on the carnival grounds this week, and would I like to come out and see it? So I gathered up Scott and the kids, and we headed out for an evening at the carnival. Primarily interested in seeing what would be the only King rocket ride that I've ever seen in person other than my own. The rides at this carnival are supplied by Garbrick Amusements, and the Garbrick family has a multi-generational history of both operating and manufacturing carnival rides on multiple branches of their family tree. What's that?
They were at the top.
Yep, now they're at the bottom.
I wonder why we're across.
One branch of that family tree got the patent on the first Ferris wheel that folded up onto its own trailer with their Nittany wheel. Later, the other branch came along and won up to the design with hydraulics to erect the towers and a solid center hub. This video contains footage from 2 different carnivals over the span of 3 years where the rides were all supplied by Garbrick Amusements. Boy, the breeze feels good up here at the top, doesn't it? Nice and cool. Yeah. Now this swing may not seem very special, but actually, this is probably the oldest ride on the lot. If my research is correct, this was originally a plane ride manufactured by Nittany Rides. That's the other branch of the Garbrick family. When Garbrick Amusements was starting up back in 1946, they pulled the bones of this ride out of Nittany's scrap pile and rebuilt it as their first ride. So this might be from the 1930s, and if you're into this sort of stuff, it holds a fairly prominent part in the history of this company. So this is the first of our unique Garbrick rides. This one they call the Spinner. It's similar in appearance to the Irely Rocketplane, the main difference being the Spinner has 10 ride tubs rather than 8 like the Rocketplane. Also, the seating position for the Rocketplane is side by side, while on the Spinner, riders are seated across from each other. So the weight of the occupants affects the balance of the tub and how easy it is to get it to flip. And in this case, I vastly outweigh my grandson.
Daddy, now you have to do it.
We almost got it to flip. Moving on, we have the Garbrick Tumbler. I put these 2 rides back to back because it's basically the same tub design. The Tumbler has 10 tubs, and here again, this is similar to a Herschel Looper, which has 8 tubs, or a Chance Rock and Roll, which again has 10 tubs. The main difference here is being that the Tumbler has no drive mechanism to flip the cars. The flipping is controlled completely by the riders and the balance of them. Now this ride is really different. Garbrick calls this the Flying Saucer. It's a fast ride, and I can't really think of anything quite comparable to it. It operates similar to a paratrooper, but it has tubs kind of like bobsleds, so I just don't know what to make of it. In earlier years, this ride could also pivot up into a flat orbit position while spinning, but similar to most of the Irely rollerplanes, that function's been disabled and not used for a very long time.
much pressure went on my stomach.
Huh?
So much pressure went on my stomach.
Yeah. You look like you're a little pale. In addition to building rides, Garbrick was well known for modifying existing rides to be trailer mounted. In this case, we have a Herschel helicopter that was trailer mounted by Garbrick. And another Garbrick mounted ride, this time the Irely Octopus. This is a pretty much original Sunshine Electric choo-choo, probably from the 1940s or 50s, and although Garbrick didn't do anything to this ride, they made train rides of their own that would use the same track. Here, the same Sunshine Electric choo-choo engine is pulling a string of Garbrick-built cars. Garbrick also built merry-go-rounds that were self-contained on one trailer. All the sweeps stay connected to the center for travel, and fold up in a similar fashion to the spokes on their Ferris wheel. The trailer can telescope in on itself to make a smaller footprint. This is just another classic old ride. It's a Watkins Hustler, and I hope to do a setup video on this as well as the very similar Tempest ride in the future. And while watching the kids ride it, Scott and I were discussing that it seemed fairly tame. We should probably have gotten on with them. We decided that if they got on again, we'd go with them. I may or may not regret that decision later on in this video. Another classic old ride in the Garbrick collection, this is the Irely Rolloplane. Now this is a bit newer than most of the rides we've been looking at. This is a Kidstown Funhouse. I haven't really been able to dig up much information about them, but I don't believe too many of them were made. This entire funhouse folds up into a fairly small trailer that can be pulled by a pickup truck.
Hey, buddy. There you go.
Now we're getting closer to where most of my research has gone the last few years. This is a King Frolic ride. King, of course, being the same manufacturer that built the Rocket ride and the Combo ride we're working on restoring. Incidentally, Watkins, the maker of the Hustler we saw earlier, had a ride like this called the Heart Flip. On that ride, the cages were heart-shaped. And finally, the entire reason we came out tonight, the King Rocket ride. Now, unlike ours, which is trailer mounted from the factory, this one came as a ground mount. My understanding is that this ride was involved in a traffic accident, and the owner rebuilt the tubs to look like space shuttles. So this doesn't really give us a good overall picture of how ours will look, but I believe it's running at roughly the correct speed. Also on ours, the rounding boards between the sweeps have been replaced by chains, and I feel like I kind of want to go back to this look.
What do you think, boys?
So unfortunately, we're missing two major rides from the Garbrick collection. First off, probably their most famous ride, the Merry Mixer, which is their version of a scrambler or a sizzler. The main difference being that it has 4 arms instead of just 3. Now, I've ridden this ride and I've seen it numerous times, but I've never taken video footage of it. The other major ride would be what Garbrick calls the Aero-Top. Now, this is a ride similar to a paratrooper, except the seats look more like Ferris wheel seats. I have never seen this ride in person. Garbrick also made a number of smaller kiddie rides, but I have never seen any of those either.
We got a lot of weight in this car, so it might spin pretty good. Like it is now? Yeah. For no reason. This is all balance. Well, it's time to go.
Yeah!
So we decided to join the kids for a ride on the Hustler after having a funnel cake. I'll just let you see how that turned out here.
Hang on, Vinny. Yeah, that speeds faster than it looks.
Yeah, it does.
That was unexpected. Yeah, it was. It's starting to switch things up now.
Oh, that funnel cake, Bobby.
Huh?
How's that funnel cake?
Yeah, not good.
This is fun at nighttime.
I don't think this went that fast when we watched it.
It looked like it from outside.
This is fun. Can we build one of these?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we have the hardware.
It'll be alright. We'll figure it out.
We make them instead of.
That's
the
what we
mini
do
ones,
best.
If you'd like to read a bit more about the Garbrick family and their contribution to the carnival industry, this book is available on Amazon. It's a quick read, more of a series of articles than a comprehensive story, but for the pictures in it alone, it's probably worth the $12 cover price. I'll leave a link to it down below in the video description if you'd like to pick up one for yourself. I'd like to thank Tim for inviting us out, and also to Tom Garbrick himself for taking the time to talk to us and giving us wristbands for the evening. And if you want to follow along with all of our restoration projects and setup videos, click that link to the left and come along for the ride.
Which side are you sitting on? Also on this side. Alright, sit back there again. Yep, it's really dark out. I can barely even see stuff. Don't rock it. Okay. You know we can fall off this, right?